I'm so thankful to be able to give back to the system of nature. And so, nature has given so much to me from, a young child all the way up to now. So any animal that I'm able to help and release back out into the wild is so very rewarding. And then on the other side of things, being able to forge relationships with animals that weren't able to be released, right? So Mango, for example, is such a close, dear friend of mine. And it's really important to convey to people that, even though me and Mango have a really beautiful relationship, she's not my bird, she's her own bird. She's not a pet. It's really a joy to work with her in that capacity and talk to the public and express a love of nature and a love of wildlife and encourage people to kind of help out however they can.
Last week, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Derek Downs, the animal care supervisor with the North Island Wildlife Recovery Center. We chatted about the center and all the important work that they do to help wildlife in need across Vancouver Island.
We're a rehabilitation center for wildlife, and not only that, but we also have about 8 acres of public viewing grounds. So we have animals here that came in as rehab candidates that weren't suitable candidates for release, and we were able to give them a permanent residence or home for the rest of their life. Now, we get in hundreds of animals throughout the year, and obviously our main goal is to rehab and release, but sometimes that's not always an option, and I think we'll talk today about some of those animals where we weren't able to rehabilitate them for release, but we certainly were able to give them a really great home, and they can fulfill the legacy of educating and sparking passion and love for wildlife.
After our chat, Derek was kind enough to give us a tour and introduce us to some of the permanent residents.
This is Elsa. She's one of our more charismatic permanent residents, right? So I think people are quite drawn to her because, snowy owls are a really striking species. And although they do pass through Vancouver Island, they're not necessarily a species that people are going to see out and about. Elsa came in 2012, and she was actually a group of 3 snowy owls that showed up around the Qualicum Beach area, all really emaciated, not doing very well. Thankfully, we were actually able to release all 3 of them. 2 of them went off on their way. Unfortunately, Elsa showed back up in the same area about a week and a half later, and again, she had already starting to have a deterioration to her overall body condition. So our veterinarian established that her viability as a wild snowy owl wasn't going to be great, but we were able to give her a permanent home here, and she's sort of touched many lives, right? She is really a joy to be able to interact with, and she, I think, gets a kick out of having a crowd around her more so than maybe some others do. And so, yeah, she's a really special friend for sure. Mango came to us as a little nestling, and she had a horrific eye infection. So we knew right away that the eye wasn't going to be viable, but we did hope to avoid surgical intervention. Unfortunately, that didn't work. So when we attempted to drain it and just pull out whatever pocket of infection was in there. And like I said, we knew that the eye wasn't going to be viable, but we were hoping to avoid surgery, because anytime you're going to do a surgical procedure like that, their eyes, the optic nerve crosses in the back, right? And anytime you are doing work on one side, you run the risk of damaging that optic nerve and actually just blinding her completely. So luckily, our vet, Dr. Malcolm McCady, who's been with us for decades, is really a fantastic vet, and the surgery went off without a hitch. And so, but yeah, like I said, I was sort of with Mango pre-surgery, and then post-operative care. I kind of spent, kind of round the clock with her. So me and her have a really strong relationship, and I've certainly known her her whole life. And yeah, she's one of my, well, you hate to pick any sort of favorites, and I certainly don't, but I have a very beautiful relationship with her. But as I touched on before, right, she's not my bird. She's her own individual, and it's funny when I sort of touch on, the emotions that they certainly have. When I have Casey on the glove stationed down here, Mango will come right up to the front, and she can see me, and she'll start kind of giving me a little bit of attitude, like, oh, what's this? Sort of not feeling necessarily betrayed, but hey, like that's we're supposed to be doing that.
We just barely scratched the surface of the fascinating, inspiring, and hopeful stories held by the residents of the North Island Wildlife Recovery Center. It's well worth a visit yourself to meet these incredible animals and to learn more about our local wildlife. For The Navigator, I'm Ben Rosno.